welcome. I'm Lori Balderas, and I'm so happy you're here. You're not going to believe it, but I'm by myself today. I have had guests for weeks on end, and I'm so happy and blessed that that happened. And so it's just little old me, little Lone Ranger here all by myself today. So anyway, I want to talk to you today about how your Lenten journey went and how mine went. And this is coming out, this episode will be coming out on the Monday of Holy Week, which is our most reverent week of the year. As Catholics, we really, value this part of our faith story. And there's so much to Holy Week. There's so much to, the story of how Jesus started off with Palm Sunday, this triumphant entrance into Jerusalem, and ended up, at the end of the week on the cross. So I think this week is just so meaningful. And I think, leading up to it in Lent, as we do, we all have our own journey through Lent. We all have our own goals and our process. And sometimes we're successful at it. Sometimes we might feel that we failed. But however Lent went for you or for me, we'll discuss that in a little bit. I have a couple of things I wanted to talk about first, and then that's what we're going to be talking about in this episode. So first of all, like I said, I feel so happy, honored, and blessed that I've had so many guests lately. They're mainly authors. They all have amazing books that I really encourage all my listeners to look up. You can go back in the show notes. If you haven't listened to those episodes, go back and have a listen. They're really well done episodes. I really think my guests are very talented people, and I've read these books. They're really well done. They all have a different take on Catholic stories, and like I've said in other episodes, that I think we're in need of good Catholic books, good Catholic movies, good Catholic stories. And so I read these books. I think if you go back in the show notes, there should be a link where you can order them and make this a part of your reading list. Summer's coming. You could have a Catholic summer reading list. So that's one thing I wanted to say. I really thank all my guests for coming. I'm looking forward to future guests coming on. This is a little in between for Holy Week. And so I wanted to get that out of the way. Also, now's the time to go back and check out the series Charles Merritt did on our website about Holy Week. I suggest you listen to a different episode every day of this week. That would be really meaningful. And it's also a very well done series. I think sometimes when we do these different events in the church, we do them because we do them out of habit. Or we say, oh, it's Holy Week, so we're going to go to these different masses or these different events. And you might not really know why you're doing what you're doing. And that's okay. It's okay to admit that and say, gosh, I'd like to learn more about the Chrism Mass. I'd like to learn more about, Good Friday. And why do we do these things? And what's the meaning behind them? So Charles Merritt really breaks it down in such an informative way, like he always does. And so if you listen to it at the beginning of Lent, great. But now go back and listen to it in a more precise way. So I really encourage everybody to do that. And let's see, I'm thinking that some people have been off social media during Lent. Some people do that. They say, I'm not going to, do certain things. And sometimes the first thing to go is their social media. So if you did that and you don't realize, I did Fresh Catholic 40 days of Lent, and I did little tips on things to do throughout Lent. So if you didn't have a chance and you weren't, doing social media, you can go back and watch them. They're all very short, and maybe it'll give you some good ideas for next year. I'm pretty sure I'm going to be doing Fresh Catholic 50 days of gratitude for the Easter season. So as I'm recording this, I haven't started that yet, but now this makes me accountable to do that. So I know that people enjoyed that when I've done that before. So I think we should all be grateful after Lent. And so, thankful and grateful that our Lord has resurrected and it's a new life, it's a springtime. And so I like to be grateful, and maybe that'll help people to have a more positive, grateful attitude in these kind of sketchy days and kind of grumpy days people have sometimes. So anyway, that all being said, like I said, I'm looking forward to the Easter season, looking forward to some new fresh things coming to Fresh Catholic and my own personal life. So anyway, I'm going to take a quick break here so that we can come back and talk about our Lenten experience. We will be right back. Have you ever wanted to witness the miraculous and walk where saints have walked? This is your chance. Join me, Lori Balderas, host of Fresh Catholic Podcast, and Father Matthew Miguel as we walk with you through Italy's most sacred sites. From the Eucharistic miracles of Lanciano and Orvieto to the peace of Assisi, your heart will be transformed by these extraordinary moments of grace. You'll walk the hallowed streets of Rome, step into the history of the Vatican, and witness the places where faith has flourished for centuries. Each stop deepens your journey. Each miracle renews your soul. We invite you to join us on an unforgettable, life-changing experience.
Join us and let your faith come alive in Italy.
And we're back. So, how did your Lent go? I hope it went well. I hope that everything you set out to do happened. I hope that you watched Fresh Catholic social media and said, hey, that's a great idea. I'm going to do that today. Or, hey, we can switch this up a little bit and we'll do that next week, or something like that. Maybe you came up with your own Lenten list of things that you wanted to try to accomplish. So I hope that all went really well for you. Now, I would like to say that my Lent went exactly as planned, and I had my big long list and I did everything on the list, checked off all the boxes. I feel very accomplished and just so proud of myself. But I'm going to be honest with you. This Lent was very challenging for me personally. If you know anything about me, I am definitely a list maker. I'm definitely a goal setter. I definitely like to have a plan, whether it be a Lenten plan or just a daily plan. That's my personality. I like to come up with some really good things that I can sink my teeth into, or things that I can really get behind and really think, oh, I'm going to do this because this is going to be the outcome. And at the end, this is how I'm going to feel, and I can encourage other people. And that's typically how I am. But to be honest with you, it just didn't go how I was hoping and how I planned. And it's really hard when you set out with a good attitude and a good idea in anything, but especially at Lent, when you feel like, oh, I failed, or oh, I didn't meet my standards or what I think God's standards are. And it's hard to not be discouraged. It's hard to not feel like a failure. And so I wanted to do this podcast today because while I still am encouraging to people to set out and make goals and accomplish the goals and feel that progress and feel these things that you think are, bringing you closer to the Lord during Lent, I also want to be transparent and to be honest and say, even if that happens sometimes and you have those great intentions, if you fall or if you stumble, it's okay. And you need to get yourself back up and brush yourself off and maybe continue on the path you were on. Maybe say, okay, I had a bad couple of days. Now I'm going to jump up, brush myself off, and continue on. And I can do it, and it's going to be okay. Or maybe you're finding that the list you had or the ideas you had were maybe too lofty, maybe too ambitious. Maybe you were setting yourself up to fail and you didn't even realize it. I'm all for good intentions, but if something isn't working, instead of just going, oh, that's it, I'm done, I quit, I'm going to go dive under the covers and wake me up at Easter. Instead of doing that, say, okay, I need to reevaluate what I'm doing here. I need to shift gears. I need to maybe venture down a different path altogether. Or instead of this list that was 10 really great ideas, I'm only able to do 5. So which 5 am I able to do? And then do that list. Or let's say you make a commitment and you say, I'm going to pray these different times during the day. And I'm going to pray for an hour each time. But you're finding, oh man, I didn't even pray at all today. Well, instead of giving up, or instead of going from one extreme to the other, say, okay, I'm going to pray 3 times a day, and I'm going to pray for 15 minutes each time. Well, right there, give yourself that chance to see if you can shift gears and still stick with the plan you had of praying, but make it more doable where you won't give up, and you can keep going, but just in a modified way. I don't think that's a failure. I don't think that's, quitting or throwing in the towel or disregarding your goal of wanting to pray. I don't think it's any of those things. I think you have to be realistic. I think it's good to start with a big grand plan and with the goal of, I'm going to try to do this, but if I don't, it's not the end of the world, and I need to make sure whatever I'm doing it with the right spirit, with the right heart, with the right mind, with the right attitude. Because you certainly don't want to go through Lent or Advent or anything like that where you're just going through the motions, you're being robotic. We don't want to be Catholic robots. We want to be mindful and really thoughtful about what we're doing and have a reason why we're doing it. That's why I said early on, when we've talked about Lent before, I think it's great to give things up for Lent. I'm all for fasting. I'm all for, abstaining from things. But if it's going to be something that you feel forced to do, or you have the wrong attitude about it, like, oh God, I have to give this up and it's just the worst thing in the world. That's not what you're supposed to be doing it for. We get very obsessed with things, like I'll just use as a very simple example. This is such a minor example to me, but at least it's something I can talk about. I'm going to give up chocolate for Lent. Oh my gosh, it's the end of the world. I love chocolate. I live for chocolate. I'm just going to die without chocolate. I'm going to mope around all day because I didn't get my chocolate. And then on Easter Day, you just gorge on chocolate. That's ridiculous. That's ridiculous. One of the reasons you want to fast and abstain is because you don't want to be so obsessed and fixated on something, whatever it is. Smoking, drinking, chocolate, gossip, anger. You have to be able to stop doing these things, put them to the side, not fret about it, not like I said before, obsess over it where that's all you're thinking about. Try to focus on, oh, it's just a thing. I can give this up. I can do this for the Lord. Don't look at it in any other way. Like you're doing this, to get your mind straight at this time of year and your walk and your relationship with Christ. So, if you can't have the right mindset and attitude, no matter what your list is or what your goals are for Lent, they're not going to be successful if you don't go into it with the right mindset. Now, in my case, I did have a good list. I did have great ideas. I obviously was giving other people suggestions and being, having a positive attitude. And some of the things I did do, and I feel good about that. But I think what happened with me is there's so many things going on right now in my professional life, my personal life. And I'm not saying these things as an excuse, and I'm not justifying anything. I'm just simply being honest and saying those things were so loud and big that they really monopolized my day. And what it ended up doing was it ended up, I would say, throwing me into a depression of some sort. I wasn't feeling good, or I'm still kind of not feeling good about the fact that there's so many other things that are filling up my day. There are things that I don't necessarily want to fill up my day, but sometimes we don't have a choice. Sometimes things fill up our day. Things distract us. Things take our gaze away from the important things. And some things we have to do, and other things we don't have to do. We can choose to eliminate certain things, especially at Lent time, where we can say, okay, I need to put that off. I need to move that later, in a few weeks. I'm not able to give it the time that I need to devote to it. If you're able to do that, you should try to do that. I tried to do that with many things that I felt like, okay, I'm going to set my priorities. Jesus comes first. These Lenten plans need to come first. They need to come up higher on the list. Other things need to wait. Things need to be pushed to the side. And I was able to do that on some things. But other things were very noisy, were very chaotic, were very pressing. And all it did was make me frustrated and feel upset and parched. And I know we are in the desert time when we're in Lent, and I was definitely feeling that. I was feeling like, instead of feeling upset about things that I had to maybe give up or, for Lent, I was more thinking, I'm feeling parched and in a desert because I don't feel like I'm as close to Christ as I want to be right now. If there's any time in the year we need to be close to Christ, it's during Lent. And I wasn't feeling close to him. I was actually feeling more distant from him. And so I then got to think, I was thinking, every year I do different Lenten plans. Every year I do some of the things I do every year. They're like, okay, these 3 things I know I do every single Lent. And then I try to mix it up and do, have different ideas and go, well, this Lent, I'm going to do these things. This Lent, I'm going to eliminate these things. But this Lent, I was thinking, it was curious because it ended up that this is the first Lent I've ever felt more distant from Christ instead of other things. So I had to stop and think, instead of thinking, oh, this was a very disappointing Lent, I just feel like I failed. I feel like, I feel discouraged. I thought, maybe this is the lesson of this Lent, is that maybe God wanted me to see how it felt to have that separation from Christ. Because normally I'm feeling pretty good at the end of Lent, and right now I'm not feeling good. And so maybe that's the lesson is, Lori, this is how it would feel if you didn't have Christ in your life. What if you didn't put aside time every day to pray, every day that you would go to Mass? How would it feel if he were eliminated from your life? Because there's every single day I pray and I go, thank you, Lord, for being in my life. I don't know what I would do without you. I don't know what I would do if I weren't Catholic. I don't know what I would do if you wouldn't have, drawn me to the Catholic faith and drawn me closer to the Lord. Where would I be? I would never make it. I pray that to him every day. So maybe this Lent was meant for me to feel that more. Because I don't think that I gave him adequate time during this Lent. I don't feel that there was a lot of quality time with Jesus. And I feel like the times and the moments when I was praying, or I was at Mass, or I was, trying to do something for my Lenten plan, it wasn't with the right attitude. It wasn't with the right focus. And so now consequently, instead of feeling filled up, with what I should be filled up with, I'm feeling very parched and empty. And that's not good. And I'm wondering if other people feel the same way. Like I said before, I hope you had a successful Lent. I hope you're feeling filled up with that you did what you set out to accomplish, and you and your family got a lot out of Lent, and now you can move into the Easter season with this happiness and joy and carry on what you did during Lent throughout the year. Maybe you had a successful Lent and you were like, oh my gosh, I gave up chocolate for Lent and I'm just going to continue it on and only eat it on the holidays because I'm feeling so empowered. Or I quit smoking and it was really hard and I'm really struggling, but I made it. But now I'm going to do the 50 days of Easter so that I can solidify that I quit. And I just really want to make this a life goal, that I just want to end it all together. I hope that's what happened. So I don't want to be a black rain cloud in this, but I'm thinking out of all of my listeners, because I have so many listeners, maybe there's people that are feeling the way I'm feeling. And I don't want this to be where you just feel bad and a failure and that God doesn't think you love him anymore, or you're just so hard on yourself. We have to remember that I feel like sometimes I'm harder on myself than anybody else is. And even when I think God is disappointed in me or mad at me, or just thinks that, if I think he's thinking those things about me, I have to remember that's not true. I have to remember that God loves me. God knows where my heart is. God knows when I feel frazzled. He knows when I feel torn away from him, or when I feel, I have days where I think, I want to tell everybody no. I want to say, no, I can't do that right now. No, I'm not going to do that. No, you're distracting me. I want to go focus on the Lord. I want to block everything out and only focus on him. I would love to be able to do that. But as we all know, that's not always something that can happen. But I just want to, say to my listeners, I'm here with you. If you had that same experience, we're in this together. I want to encourage you that, it's not a fail. Maybe go to confession. I would love to do that right now, because I think that would be a very relieving thing to do. If you stumbled and fell during Lent, go to the Lord, tell him you're so sorry and you want to be cleansed of this, and you want to go into the Easter season with the right mindset, and you want to do really well. So when we come back after this break, let's turn this around and talk about some positive things that we can do if you did have a rough Lent, or even if you did have a great Lent. Let's talk about what we can do moving forward. So with that said, we'll be right back. Let me tell you about all things Fresh Catholic, so buckle up. We have a podcast with weekly topic episodes and Fresh Catholic Daily, the daily Mass readings, on all platforms and YouTube. Like, share, subscribe, rate, and review. That would really help. Our website, freshcatholic.com, has an online store with merchandise and coffee, a blog, comics, info about our pilgrimage to Italy in September of this Jubilee year, and Fresh Catholic courses with educator Charles Merritt, including the Hail Mary, the Our Father, Sin, Sacraments and Grace, Advent, Angels, and Virtues. We're on Instagram and Facebook at Fresh Catholic with short videos every day. Email me at lori@freshcatholic.com. I'd love to hear from you. And please consider becoming a Patreon or sponsor to help support our mission of drawing people to the faith or back to the faith. Phew! Spread the word and join the fun. Thanks so much. Bye. And we're back. So before we start talking about like how we can move forward, I just wanted to say that one of the days I was feeling especially low or just kind of like angry at myself, angry at the world. Like I said, I feel like I've been struggling with a little bit of depression lately. I was unable to go to Mass. I was unable to go to the Adoration Chapel. And because I was on this strict time schedule that day, and I was just not feeling good at all. And I was trying to pray, but it didn't seem enough to me. And so I thought, oh, I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to go sit in front of the tabernacle in my church. And I went in and knelt down. It was so dark. It was so quiet in there. And I just told Jesus how sorry I was, how miserable I was feeling, and why. And I just said, can you just please take this off of me? And please know that I love you so much. And please know where my heart is. And please hear me, Lord. And I just immediately felt relief. We also have a huge picture of the Divine Mercy right next to the tabernacle. I don't want to cry. But I just knew he was there, and he was hearing me, and he was understanding, and he knew that I wasn't feeling good. So if you can't go to Mass or you can't go to adoration, always know that you can. I would hope your church is open and you can go sit in front of the tabernacle and know that Jesus is always listening. If you can't do that, always know you can pray. Always know he's listening. You can take a minute to do that. And if you ask him to help you and you ask him to relieve you, my experience is it's instantaneous. And I feel like a load is off of me. He will always take that load off of you if you ask him to. And then set aside a time to go to confession, because that's the best place to just get right with God, and you can start fresh and move forward. So sorry, I didn't want to do that, but I'm just having a hard time. So moving forward, I think it's good to look at what didn't work for your Lent. Maybe document it. Make a list of, this was what I wanted to do, this didn't work, and try to kind of figure it out. Figure out, why didn't it work? Was it something you were doing that made it not work? Was it outside interferences making it not work? Did you, like I said before, did you bite off more than you could chew? What was the reason? I'm sure you had good intentions or you wouldn't have had like a plan in the beginning. But try to remember also, sometimes, even though I think it's good to start out with a big list because you can always like whittle it down, it's also okay to maybe only pick one thing that you want to do for Lent and make that okay, and make that your main focus, and make that something that you know, I can definitely give my time and effort to this one thing, so that at the end of Lent, I can say, I really got a lot out of that. That was so meaningful. It doesn't always have to be quantity, it needs to be quality. So I think maybe it's good to, especially if you've had a rough Lent, this Lent, to make that your goal for next year. And you can always add things to it. And as you go along, if you think, oh man, I'm really having success with this, I'm going to add in one more thing. That would be great. I think it's good to, again, include your family in Lent, and it kind of helps everybody to be more accountable. You know, if you tell your intentions to your family at the beginning of Lent and you say, this is what I'm trying to do myself. Like, let's do these things as a family, but this is what I'm trying to do myself. So again, use the chocolate analogy. I'm trying to give up chocolate for Lent. Please don't offer me any chocolate. Let's not have hot cocoa. Let's not even buy chocolate during Lent so that it'll help me, and everybody support me in it. Because if you have people that are sabotaging you, then that's not right. That's not good. We all want to be supportive of each other during Lent. So sometimes if you have something that you're really struggling with and you let other people in on it, they can help you through that. You know, that's just kind of a thing that you should be doing anyway. But during Lent, that's a really good way to help each other out. And I think, like I've said before, the things that you're doing during Lent can carry on into the rest of the year. So let's say you had some goals for Lent, you weren't able to do them, and now you say, well, I would still like to try to do these because, you know, again, we have 50 days of Easter. Maybe I'll do these things for Easter and see if, you know, things quiet down in my, you know, in my outside world, and I can still do them and feel accomplished and show the Lord I love him in those ways. So I don't want people to feel defeated. I don't want people to feel that this broke their relationship with the Lord. You know, I think we need to figure out, why do we choose the things we're choosing for Lent? Are we doing the things that we choose to become closer to Christ, to try to prove to ourselves that we aren't obsessed with other things? Do we do things just because we're supposed to? And like, again, like a robotic thing or something that's like, well, my mom wants me to give up chocolate, so that's what I'm going to do. But you're not, you know, that doesn't have any meaning behind it. What are your intentions of why you're doing what you're doing? Maybe try to figure out, you know, what you really want to do that's going to get you closer to the Lord. Also, I'm a big believer in, instead of just eliminating things at Lent, you add things in. You say, okay, well, I'm going to start doing this more. So continue that. Continue those things. Even if you stumble and fall, continue on, because God isn't looking for perfection from us. He is looking for us, though, to give him our heart and our soul, and to make him the number one thing in our life, and to prioritize him above everything, and to make things that are good and that will draw us closer to our faith and closer to him. He wants that to be our life path, not just during Lent. So I encourage you, and I'm encouraging myself, to not let this get us down, and to look forward to the Easter season, look forward to the months ahead. Try to make things even when things are stressful or chaotic in our lives, try to turn them and figure out what we can do with those challenges, what we can do with those desert days to draw ourselves and others closer to the Lord. I think that that's a good attitude to have at this time of year. So that's kind of how I'm going to leave it, I think, today. I know it's a shorter episode, but I just feel like I've had all these lovely episodes with my guests. I just wanted to open up my heart to you and tell you how I'm feeling right now. I have every confidence that I'm going to rally and come back through this. I know I've really, through this kind of desert moment I'm in and feeling kind of down, I definitely know that I have goals and plans that I want to achieve that are more positive, that are eliminating chaos and things that are getting in the way of my relationship with Christ, because I definitely don't want him to be pushed to the side. I definitely don't want him under a bushel basket. I want to be submerged with him. I want his light to be surrounding me and in me. And I know Satan is trying to snuff out my love of him, and it's just not working. And I have positive things in my future that I know are coming. And I just have to keep that hope. I have to keep my focus on the Lord. I have to keep my heart open to him and know that he's watching out for me. He loves me, and he wants me to feel more at peace. So I also pray that for all of you. Let me know how your Lent went. Send me an email, Lori@freshcatholic.com. Let me know how your Lent went. Let me know what worked, what didn't work. Like I said, go listen to the Holy Week series by Charles Merritt. And I hope you have a wonderful Holy Week. I hope it's very meaningful to you. I hope you are filled with love and light on Easter, and just, feel that spirit of resurrection and new life on Easter Day and throughout the Easter season. So thank you for coming today. Thank you. Love you. Bye.